The last is yet to be heard about the recent protests which degenerated into anarchy in some parts of Nigeria. Security agencies have commenced investigations into violence and waving of Russian flags that greeted the protests. Well, several state commands of the Nigerian police have begun prosecution of arrested protesters during the hardship protests. And according to reports, about 1,135 persons arrested during the protests are undergoing trial in court. Other suspects arrested over waving of Russian flag were moved to Abuja for further investigation. BKO, let me greet you personally. Welcome back to Lagos studio. Good to see you here again.
Let me thank you personally for having me.
That's nice. All right, first off, let's look at, we understand the Constitution, section of the Constitution guarantees a right, to protest. But then again, what you make of the trial of these protesters? Do you think perhaps it undermines the constitutional right in any way?
No, it's a very good thing to put them on trial. What we saw in the name of cost of living protests was a show of shame in some parts of the country, especially Kano, where the protests degenerated into an orgy of looting. I do not see anything wrong in people who are hungry protesting. It's a normal thing. Given the hunger in the land, protest was necessary, at least to get our government to know that, look, things are not easy for our people. So that if they were under any illusion that, look, Nigerians are not really grappling with some of these existential issues, at least the protests sent a clear message. And I, at no time, said don't protest. What I opposed was the idea of protesting in the way the organizers conceived it. The organizers wanted to protest by parading the streets of our country. And we said, look, given the hunger in the land, given the anger, the palpable anger in the country, any protests that sees you marching through the streets would descend into chaos, into anarchy. That was what we warned about, and it happened. But when you warn people about it, you say, oh, he's defending Tinubu, he's a Tinubu slave, he's defending Tinubu. But what have we gained? Look at the city of Kano. They've set that state back. And the governor who said, look, protests are welcome, let them come, he will receive them. They put him to shame. If not for the police, the same police that the governor is always abusing, accusing them of not taking orders from him. If not for the police, they will have overrun his government house. And they will have looted everything in the government house, including his bedroom. So we have to be careful what we want. The Constitution guarantees the rights of the people to protest. But it also sets limitations to those rights. And you see limitations to those rights if you read section 44, 45, you go on. You see limitations to those rights. As I've said before, you have the right to swing your arm, but you have no right to swing your arm and then punch my nose in the process, because that will inflict pain on me. So, by flinging your arm in a way that hurts me, you have infringed on my own right. So there are limitations. You have no right to block the road and stop people that are about to be taken to hospital from from getting access to the road. This is the sort of protest that some people want. But there are people who, for no reason, will never join in a protest. It is not their style. But you don't have to impose your own desires on other people. As much as you have the right to protest, others have the right to not protest. This is what some of them don't want to agree. And so you block the road so that you inflict pain on everybody, including those who do not want to be part of your protest. Everywhere in the world where protest descends into anarchy, and looting, people get arrested. On the 7th of August, 400 people were arrested in the UK. Maybe we always talk about them, Senna crimes and all that rubbish. In the UK, they've been arresting people. Are we going to say that they don't honor democracy, or that the rights to movement are not guaranteed in those people? But rights have limitations. That is the point. For example, as much as you have rights to freedom, to movement, there's freedom of movement for everyone. Where freedom of movement is capable of leading to anarchy, that right will be taken away. And they take it away in form of a curfew. When there's a curfew, everyone stays in his house. Nobody talks about the right to free movement. Because, as I said, if government sees that, if I give you this right, it may lead to a descent to anarchy, they can take that right away. We've seen them in the UK, that people are looting shops, just the same way those boys in Kano, Gombe, and other places were doing. I mean, what is the point? You go into the house of a lawmaker, you say you are not happy with him. Anger ought to be spontaneous, but some of these bursts of anger that we saw were quite premeditated, were planned. They went removing roofing sheets of some houses before setting them ablaze. You are stealing. In Kano, we saw people damaging drainage slabs just so that they can remove the reinforcements in them. Some of them, 18 mm, 16 mm, they want to go and sell the iron rods in those drainage slabs. So they are damaging government property. We saw a clearly deranged boy with a cutlass trying to cut traffic light. I mean, what kind of kick, what kind of negative kick could have prompted a boy to be doing that? That's not protest. And then some were waving Russian flags. They didn't even know what they were doing. So if you even want to wave the flag of a country, it's Russia. Russia. You can't wave the flag of China. In today's world, China is both an economic power and a military power. And stronger than Russia, except for nuclear capability, which nobody will use anyway. There is no madman who will go and use nuclear weapons because he knows that even it will get destroyed in the process. So we are waving the flag of Russia. This is season of madness. We call it zanga-zanga to show anger against government. It's right. But we don't want zanga-zanga nasata.
What does that mean?
We will explain.
Of stealing.
Zanga-zanga nasata. You know, we protest just for you to steal. That's why we saw opportunity to steal. We saw this coming. How do you go and they even looted mosque in Kano. They carted away the rugs.
The rugs.
Oh. They carted away the rugs. Zanga-zanga nasata.
In fact,
yeah, that's
you know what happened in Kano and some of the northern states was not protest at all. Clear case of looting and banditry. That was exactly what happened. Because in a situation where you have people go into people's houses, I mean, slabs on the road, removing it, something that the government had done to ease your movement and all that, you go and remove. That's no protest. And in fact, when you see majority of all those boys who throng the streets, you know that it is a case of not knowing what they are doing. But ignorance of the law is not an excuse. In fact, on the issue of the Russian flag, there's another school of thought that says that if you look at that flag, it looks almost like the Nigerian Army flag. So, is it, and some of them were singing, so Jimuke, so we want the military.
Yes.
So is it the military flag they are waving unconsciously or the Russian flag? Although the military had not come out to accept or to say that it looks like their own flag, everybody is following the popular narrative that it is the Russian flag. So we need to contest that. Is it, because most of those boys, if you ask them where is Russia, majority of them don't even know. Maybe they are even hearing the name Russia for the first time. So the issue is, what happened in those cities were not protests at all, but clear case of looting. People who wanted to loot, it also sends a signal. We said something like this last week. It also sends a signal to the leadership in the north that, look, you need to train your words. You need, I mean, I can't see it happening in a place where people are well brought up and well reared. For you, children to go into the streets and begin to go into people's houses, vandalizing government property. Well, maybe it's also a lesson for all our leaders. It happened in Lagos in 2020. And we saw a situation where there was, in Lagos and in other places, there was calm. And even the policemen, we need to commend the effort of our policemen. In Lagos, in Rivers, especially. You saw what happened in Ojota, I think the second or third day, when the commissioner was telling them to go into the park, and they said no, they are not going because some thugs were there. He assured them that nothing will happen to them. They said no. And he pleaded with them and he said, okay, he was on his way to Lekki, but because I want to assure you that there is not going to be any problem, he stayed with them. And these are people who really had what they wanted to do. But in that case in Kano, they were just small things running around, and we also need to also commend the police there too. Right. Because if the police had come out, what we are saying now is not what we'll have said. Right. So before it happens next time, we always appeal. And I also believe that the organizers, or whether they are known or unknown, will have learned their lesson. Right. You have good points, but you can never predict. You know the beginning of a fight, you will never know the end. So,
indeed. Well, while you commend the efforts of the Nigerian police, yeah, I will also raise a concern that there were reports of live ammunition now being used against unarmed protesters. Babajide, how do you think authorities now should manage demonstrations like this without crossing the line of, into repression, so to speak?
Yeah, there is no reason to use live ammunition in quelling a protest. But where people flagrantly loot other people's properties, they are inviting extreme measures on the part of the security forces, and it's not only in Nigeria that it has happened. If you are looting and you call that protest, they will fire at you.
Mm-hmm. But there's a way of handling protesters instead of live.
They are not protesters. Looters are not protesters. Let's make the record straight. Mm-hmm. Those ones are not protesters. People who set out simply to loot. Look at, there is a supermarket on the way to the government house in Kano, Barakat.
And then a pharmacy.
Beautiful place.
And then a pharmacy.
They looted it completely. there was a person who was filming his shop being looted. I mean, I warned before this protest that many Nigerian business owners do not insure their business premises. So when you loot in this manner, you've ruined their lives. You loot, you set up, you've ruined their lives. Some of them will never recover. Some of them will die of complications arising from hypertension and all that because you've destroyed their lives. So people have no reason to loot. And people have no reason to endanger the lives of security forces. If they endanger the lives of security forces, those guys will do whatever it takes to secure their lives, to stay alive, including firing into the air. I don't think that people will deliberately fire at protesters.
Okay.
Sometimes to disperse them, you have to fire into the air. Maybe when they hear the sound of gun, they start running. Or stray bullets can then kill people in the process. If they fire directly into
the crowd,
there will be so much fatalities. We won't be talking about maybe less than 20 people dead. We won't be talking about that. We'll be talking about people dead in hundreds. AK-47 fired directly at human beings. Even when fired directly at a car, or even an aircraft, you can bring down an aircraft with AK-47. It is that powerful as an assault rifle. So imagine firing it into a crowd. You kill so many people. The policemen showed tremendous restraint. You can imagine in Kano, if they were to descend heavily, because some of them were being stoned. They were being stoned. The looters, because I won't call them protesters. The looters were stoning them. I won't call them protesters. I'm not a fool. You see those boys and 9-year or 10-year, I call them protesters. How are they protesters? I'm not going to be just the same way I would not agree that it's a nationwide protest. No. People calling nationwide protest, they don't know the meaning of nationwide. More than a quarter of the states in our country didn't get involved in that protest. So how is that nationwide? Nationwide must, a whole geopolitical zone in our country, they didn't protest. They didn't participate, and you still call that nationwide. So it was wrong. I like those who came up with August protest. Simple, it makes sense. Don't call it nationwide when more than a quarter of the states in our country didn't protest at all. So I disagree. I think also... And those boys, I will not call those boys protesters. No. Those boys were looters. No. They came to steal.
It's also a wake-up call for our security agencies. We need to invest more on rubber bullets, and there's this water cannon fire.
They were firing hot water cannon. They didn't restrain them.
Hot water cannons, if they spray...
They were spraying it at them. Go and look at the videos. Those boys kept coming.
That means something...
Didn't you see some of the videos? They were firing water cannon and then...
Because if we have that...
More or less, their actions were justified. You have to say, more like their actions were justified.
No, you see...
As in for them to take live ammunition. Is that
no, I'm not. I will not support the use of live.
Yes.
You can fire into the air to scare people. But collateral damage happens sometimes.
I'm not, as he said, I remember the man. I don't think it was a direct fire.
No. I remember a man who, during his wedding ceremony, he said they should give him 21 guns.
Yes.
He was killed in the process. The groom. He wanted 21 guns salute. But before they reached 21, bullet hit groom. Groom die. So these things, collateral damage happens. You know? I remember a policeman in a viral video saying, look, if you shed the blood of any of my policemen here, he swore to God that he would take people's lives. But they were really provoked. It's not easy.
It's not
easy. You see the crowd coming at you, you are their target already. Because where they want to loot, they know that you will stop them. So they want to get you out of the way so that they can loot. And then you call that protest. It's not a protest.
I'm talking about the Russian flag waving by some of these protesters, looters, according to BKO. We understand that a foreign national was also arrested in the process. What do you make of this and the likely implications?
Well, in fact, that one is a very funny one to me. I don't understand what the Polish guys, or I think they said they were Polish.
Polish,
yeah.
Poland.
I don't know what is their, what dog do they have in the fight? I mean, those ones, and I read shortly before we came in that the Polish embassy has already appealed to government. No, they should go through the trial. It is not your business. What is their business in Nigerians protesting or whatever? It is not their business. It's not Polish flag they are carrying. You help them to carry Russian flag. No, those ones should just face the wrath of the Lord. Simple.
Vikio, your final thoughts on this before we go on break.
Let the trial begin. Let those who are guilty serve their time in prison. That will serve as a deterrent to others. We want to see more protests in our country, but we don't want protests that degenerated into barefaced looting. No. That's not protests. It's just using the vehicle of protest to relieve people of their properties. And whoever has experienced this kind of thing before is the only one who can tell the story. Look at Admiralty Way, all the business premises there during NSAS. They looted them completely. They went to ShopRite, looted them, looted ShopRite. Surulere looted. They wanted to loot Computer Village. But my Igbo brothers, I've known them in Kano that they would defend their property to the last drop of their blood. Yes.
That was what saved them.
They were firing into the air. They brought enough policemen. These boys couldn't overrun Computer Village. The policemen were shooting and shooting and shooting. Those boys got tired. They gave up the fight. So nobody was able to loot Computer Village. If they had looted Computer Village, God forbid, do you know how many lives will have been ruined?
A lot.
So let's bear this in mind. As much as we want people to protest, protest is a very good thing. Let government know. Because it's possible for some people in government not to know the extent of the pains that people are going through. It's possible for them not to know the damage that the very poor value of the Naira has done to businesses, has done to people's lives. We need protest. But protest must happen within the ambit of the law. And in any jurisdiction where people step out of line in the name of protest, as I told you, on August 7 alone, 400 people were arrested in the UK over protest. So it is not Nigeria alone.
It is not.
So all of those people who make it look like, to arrest looters is a bad thing. To clamp down on looters is a bad thing. It happened in the UK. They clamped down on them. And
no, those who are saying that if the shoe were to be on the other leg, they would know. You don't support looters.
Yes. If your property gets looted, where do you start from? Yeah. And you did not insure it. I mean,
even if you insure, the insurance will not give you the exact worth. You don't give you the exact worth.
Yeah, so in other words, protests are welcome but should be done within the ambit.
Yes, and protesters must know
not turn to
limitations.
Absolutely.
There are limitations. The law states that there are limitations even to the right to protest. Yeah. They must know that.
All right, you're still on to Journalist Hangout. We have more discussions coming up after this break. Stay with us.